So my name's Kelvin Poe. I'm originally from Richmond, British Columbia, but I was in Aizu Wakamatsu, Fukushima Ken, for a year with a JET program. Well, Aizu Wakamatsu is a sort of, it's a city, but it's more like it feels like a large town, and it's a very traditional part of Fukushima. So it has Tsurugajo, our castle, and it's the birthplace of Hideo Noguchi sensei. So that's their claim to fame. And they've preserved a lot of the old quarters of the city. So it's very, very traditional looking, and I really like that. It's bordered 360 degrees by mountains. So it's very cold in the winter, very, very cold. But I thought it was a great place because I felt like it was a traditional Japanese place to live. It wasn't a big city. It didn't have all modern stuff. It was very traditional, and it was great.
Centuries ago, Japanese lacquer techniques were already so advanced that the Europeans began referring to all lacquerware simply as Japan. Aizu Wakamatsu City developed a major lacquerware industry over 400 years ago. Blessed with an ideal climate and natural resources, Aizu's skilled lacquer artisans made the city rich. Resin from the East Asian tree has been used since ancient times as a protective coating and adhesive. In the traditional method, the resin is refined to make lacquer, then mixed by hand with the natural vermilion colorant. Each lacquer coating must be left to dry for 10 hours. Great care must be taken during the 15 coatings to avoid any trace of debris, which would spoil the finish. The lacquer dries and hardens very slowly. Humidity is kept between 65 and 80%. As the Japanese adopted a more Western lifestyle, demand for lacquerware fell. The lacquerware industry looked for new ways to revive its fortunes.
I wanted to find new ways to use traditional Japanese materials and techniques. Methods to use the old skills with all kinds of modern materials to create fine new products.
It took many years of research to develop methods for applying lacquer to materials other than wood. The interior walls of airplanes would flake due to bubbles in the paint caused by changing air pressure. The uniform air-free coating provided by traditional lacquering techniques solved this problem. A Fukushima government industry project solved the problem of lacquer's long drying time by mixing it with modern paints to obtain a product that dries in seconds.
Our coating is very fire resistant, and because it's a natural material, it can be used by the construction industry with no problems of allergies or sick building syndrome.
New technology for inexpensively lacquering everything from plastics to metals to glass is helping old towns like Aizu Wakamatsu regain their former glory.
There was quite a bit of damage in my apartment, cracks in buildings everywhere, but there was no major collapses that I know of. The school I was based at, the pool dropped 2 meters, and the embankment that was in front of the school collapsed and destroyed the road and the bus stop that I took to school. So that was quite something to see. But other than that, my city was more or less okay from the earthquake itself, minus a lot of structural surface damage, not structural damage. I was actually alone at the time, so I was dealing with the earthquake completely alone. But when we went back to our Board of Education, everyone was quite nervous, but calm, which was really nice. One of the other ALTs in the city, she told me that the people around her were very scared. They were very, very scared. But most people dealt with it very calmly, I think. I would think. When I went back to school on Monday, it was a Friday. When I got to school on Monday, they were actually quite calm. It was quite good. I don't necessarily know that my students really understood what happened. The teachers were quite nervous, but the students were dealing with it quite well, I think. There's a lot of rebellious students at any age in any country. So there's lots of kids who sort of, like to do their own thing, but the best part was the kids who really, really wanted to learn English. And I still actually keep in touch with some of those students, so that was amazing. Some of them really like to try out their English. The best part was when they would come to me in the hallway and try out something they learned. That was great. So there were some kids who were really enthusiastic about it. I would speak to some of my junior high school kids completely in English. Some of them were very, very good. They liked it a lot.
Most people end up staying at least 2 years, I find. What ends up happening is when you're asked if you want to renew your contract, it's sometime in February, and so you've only been there for about 8 months. And a lot of people, when they get to that 8-month point, they just feel, I'm just starting to learn about Japan and get comfortable, so maybe 1 year is not enough. So most people end up renewing their contract for at least a second year, and we do have a large portion of people who stay for a third year, and then there are a group of people who stay for a fourth and fifth year. Some people just don't come back as well. They end up staying in Japan for a long time. I think a lot of people do come back and get involved in Japan-related events. I know we've got quite a strong JET alumni community who are connected to some of the Japan-related organizations in Vancouver and throughout BC as well. So they're always looking for ways to maintain that connection between Canada and Japan and keep Japan in their lives.
Now, let's hear what some JET participants have to say about the program and their experiences.
Foram 5 anos assim maravilhosos, de muito trabalho, de muita dedicação, empenho para fazer as coisas acontecerem, mas eu tenho certeza que foram 5 anos de grande crescimento pessoal, profissional e de vida, sem dúvida.
Ich arbeite in einem kleinen Ort mit nur 10.000 Einwohnern und bin in sehr direktem Kontakt mit den Menschen. Und einfach, ich finde, dass es eine sehr schöne und wichtige Erfahrung für mich ist, diesen Leuten, die eigentlich nichts über Deutschland wissen, deutsche Kultur, deutsches Essen und die deutsche Denkweise näher zu bringen.
Innanzitutto l'opportunità di sfruttare i miei studi, gli studi che ho fatto finora, quindi riguardo alla lingua e la cultura giapponese, l'opportunità di approfondire le conoscenze dal punto di vista linguistico e di conoscere meglio, più da vicino la cultura giapponese e anche l'esperienza di lavorare in un vero ufficio pubblico in Giappone.
I thought I'd be teaching people about my culture, but I've actually been learning more from the people that I interact with. I've been learning a lot about Japanese culture, and also I've had opportunities to really look at my own culture again and understand it more, and it's been fantastic.
Это очень хорошая возможность познакомиться с Японией и японцами поближе, потому что по работе мы имеем возможность общаться с самыми разными представителями японского общества. Это домохозяйки, дети, школьники, государственные служащие и так далее. Также это очень хорошая возможность рассказать о своей стране, о ее традициях, людях и так далее.
मैं तो कहता हूँ कि ये एक तरह की खिड़की है जिसके थ्रू आप अपने संस्कृति को उनके तक पहुँचाते हैं। इस खिड़की को आप दीवार मत समझिए, आप इसको दरवाज़ा में बदल सकते हैं और अपने ऑफिस तक इसको सीमित ना रखिए, आप लोगों से जुड़ने का काम कीजिए।
Ik ben letterlijk de brug tussen Japan en mijn thuisland België. Ik leer elke dag bij over Japan, het dagelijkse leven. Maar ik leer ook bij over mijn eigen land. Het is gewoon een fantastische ervaring.
Okay, let's do the Japanese way. Ready? Kanpai!
Neta, I'm right.
Thank you, thank you. I'll write back soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, see you.
I remember the first time I had a hard time was Aizuben. It was a very thick dialect, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. So it was a very sort of, it felt like a different community from the Japan I'd seen before that. I had visited Japan before going on JET. And when I got to Aizu, it was a very different sort of feel, more old, more traditional, and well, Aizuben was difficult for me to pick up and understand. But the people were also very welcoming. The people that I developed relationships with, co-workers, Makarate sensei, friends that I made in the city, they went out of their way to help you out. My host family as well. More so than I would expect. That's what really surprised me. And that's what, so the impression I got, especially, and the one I take away from me from when I left Aizu was the hospitality. Everywhere I went, if I went to a restaurant, I talked to the chef, and it was not just coming in, eating, paying, and leaving. It was having a good time with the people there. They were very open to talking and just exchanging ideas. And they had many questions about foreign countries and how I was an English teacher despite being Asian. They were very interested in that.